Welcome to Naturally Inspired Radio, where we expose what's broken in the healthcare system, connect you to real health solutions, and inspire you to take back control of your life. We want to help you feel empowered, informed, and free to live naturally without fear, confusion, or dependency. Download our latest book on real solutions for health at naturallyinspiredradio.com. Naturally Inspired Radio is a nationally syndicated show broadcast on over 100 radio stations, online platforms, video channels, and podcast feeds. Follow us on your favorite platform today, hit that like button, leave a comment, and engage in our special live stream chats Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Visit naturallyinspiredradio.com to learn more, register for our weekly giveaway, and explore past episodes. You can also connect directly with Tammy, follow her on all major social media platforms, and discover more about our featured guests and trusted radio partners. Are you looking for better health? Work with Tammy today and take the first step toward a healthier, more empowered lifestyle. Schedule your complimentary 30-minute lifestyle assessment to explore personalized guidance on nutrition, movement, toxin-free living, and natural beauty without pharma. Get started now and discover Tammy's preferred health products at naturallyinspiredstore.com or text Tammy directly 720-303-8868. Love the show and want to support the movement? Head over to naturallyinspiredradio.com and click on the support tab. There you'll find all the ways you can get involved. Join our Naturally Inspired community, become a preferred customer, attend one of our amazing live events, get your backstage pass for exclusive access, and connect to all things naturally inspired. Thank you for tuning in today. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
The information and other content provided on this radio show or in any linked materials is provided for informational purposes only, not intended and should not be construed as medical advice. It is not a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment.
Hey, welcome. Good morning. I hope you have your coffee. I hope you're ready to go. It's another beautiful day. I don't want to even say, but like, no snow here. No snow here. So, we've had a few dustings here and there, but right now we have no snow. And today was gorgeous. I was out feeding my cows today. Just, gosh, I just, I don't know what's going on, but like, I don't even have a coat on. Here we are in January, approaching mid-January. I don't know, you guys. I might be like singing the blues here pretty soon because I have a feeling we get a whole bunch of snow in February or something. And maybe it'll even carry on into Mother's Day. Oh, don't you hate it when it snows on Mother's Day? Oh my gosh. I cannot stand it when it snows on Mother's Day. Mother's Day to me is like the beginning of spring, right? I want to hang my baskets. I want to start taking things out. Maybe it's premature every year. Maybe it is. Maybe I do have to bring it inside and then put it back outside and then bring it inside and then put it back outside here in Colorado. But I don't care. I want to spend my Mother's Day doing spring-like activities. Okay? So hopefully that's not where we're headed, is that white stuff in May. Okay, hopefully we're not. Anyway, I got a great show for you today. Talking about a very important topic at the top of the hour here now. And okay, so we know, right, there's all this fraud being exposed, and I've revealed to you what I think's going on with this, right? We're going to pull the covers off of all the fraud. There's going to be fraud everywhere, and it's going to shock all the normies into how the world really works, right? And then I think we're probably going to get into election fraud, and let me tell you, there's going to be a lot of shocked people, I think, still. I mean, yes, a lot of us are awake. You're awake. I'm awake. Like, there's a lot of people awake now. That's, we know. But there's still, I think, a great deal of people who do not understand how deep this fraud goes. Okay? And for those of you who go even a little deeper, right? I think we're on the verge of being able to, do you remember last year, a year and a half ago or so? I think it was Cat Williams. Remember Cat Williams, the comedian? He had a viral podcast, right, where he went on Shannon Sharp and just revealed a thing or two about the way the world works, right? Especially in Hollywood. And, revealed that maybe there's darker forces here. I mean, we all feel it. You and I, we all feel it. Everybody says it. It's a spiritual war going on here, right? We're at the brink of discovering, I think, some things that I think people may not be ready for. Okay? But it's okay. Because you and me, we can probably help them acclimate. Okay? And let's face it, the people who have no idea what's going on, I don't know if they're coming forward, and I say that in a loving way, but seriously, I don't think they're moving forward with us. Okay. Consciousness wise, you know what I'm saying? I don't think they're moving forward in elevating their consciousness and understanding and bringing, some grounded common sense forward to the future. Let's just leave it at that. Okay. So anyway, back in a long while ago, Cat Williams had this moment on this podcast where he said, in Shannon Sharp's, what was it called again? I don't know, Jason and I kept laughing every time we said the name of that show. Shay Shay, right? It's I can't remember the name of it. Put it in the chat, Jay, because I can't remember. It was Talk Time with Shay Shay or something like that. I can't remember. Anyway, Shannon Sharp. Jason was a big fan of Shannon Sharp back in the day when the Broncos used to win the Super Bowl and all that stuff. Way back in the day before we discovered some things about the NFL, Anyway, he said this line on Cat Williams, and he said, all things will be revealed in 2025. Do you remember that? All things will be revealed in 2025. And Cat Williams been around the block, and he is well aware of what is going on in the world and how the world actually works, how the dark forces of the world actually control the world. And so I keep thinking back to that, and it's a lot was revealed in 2025, but we had some stagnation there for a while. Maybe you felt it. I felt it. I felt it personally, and I felt it, just in our culture too. There was stagnation, and near the end of this year, or last year, 2025, I felt like something lifted. Did you feel that? Something really shifted, and now, man, we are on this rapid exposure train of exposing fraud. And so I told you yesterday, I think it was, I pretty much think that the Nick Shirley thing was all orchestrated, and that story was, served up on a platter. And I think that, politicians are using influencers and using groups like TPUSA and many other ones, to carry out their marching orders, to shape the way we're thinking about things. And I think what the next level is that people are going to understand is, the true dark forces beneath some of the manipulation behind fraud and the motivation behind this level of fraud, and how the pattern, how I've been saying now for quite a long time, like everybody's got a racket going. It's like they're getting double paid on things. They've got some sort of racket where it's they've manipulated the law in a way where it's almost not. It's like it can't be easily detected, and so it's like you look at it and you go, well, that doesn't really feel right, but is it legal? Some of it might be. But then there's extra layers of like deep, dark motivation behind a lot of this stuff. And I think we're getting to the point. Where you probably know what motivates this. But I think that a lot more people are going to understand that. Anyway, yet another level of fraud exposed in healthcare recently. So I want to take you to this clip of Bobby Kennedy. And, I love it how they serve it up for the normies, but I don't know. I've met Bobby Kennedy Jr. once, never had a lengthy conversation with him or anything, but I feel like he knows things, It's just the vibe he carries. I feel like he's on our side, but he's playing a very careful game, and rightfully so, because his dad and his uncle are dead at the hands of precisely what I'm talking about, these kind of darker forces, right? But anyway, I do feel like he's playing this game strategically and for the long haul. Here's Bobby Kennedy just, introducing the normies a little bit more about health insurance. Take a listen.
At a restaurant, the price of food is right there on the menu. When you purchase something online, you know exactly how much you're going to be charged before you click buy. Why is it that when it comes to many medical procedures, we only find out the price afterward? And unlike a restaurant or an online purchase, medical bills often run into hundreds of thousands of dollars. Who benefits from that? Certainly not the patients. Oh, you've been at home worrying about that bill coming in the mail. Health insurers and hospitals have been hiking up prices and pocketing skyrocketing profits. Patients are fed up with the status quo, and that's why President Trump took action in his first term to pull back the curtain on prices for hospital stays, physicians' visits, and prescription drugs. Now we're building on that. Thanks to the leadership of Dr. Oz and his incredible team at CMS, the Trump administration recently published Transparency and Coverage 2.0 proposed rule that requires health insurers to show patients the actual cost of care upfront. When you can see the cost of care before you receive it, you can shop for the lowest cost, highest quality treatments, which will drive down the cost of care by promoting market competition in the process. Right after the Senate confirmed me as your HHS secretary, President Trump signed an executive order that directs us to make healthcare pricing clear, accurate, transparent, and actionable. And the MAHA strategy, released in September, calls for HHS to implement that executive order. Today, we're delivering on those directives, working to make your healthcare more transparent, more accessible, more convenient, with no surprises. Our proposed rule requires the information be available to you in multiple ways, including on your cell phone. Other nations have found that when governments require price transparency, patients make informed choices that are better for them, better for society, bringing down national health care costs dramatically. Analysts estimate that price transparency could save American consumers $80 billion annually in health care.
This is a huge gut punch to the insurance companies. And let me tell you, I've been saying this forever. Everyone seemed to get the drift that there might be something up with pharmaceutical companies, even before COVID, right? People were like, I don't really, like, your intuition talks to you. Your intuition nudges you, I don't really want to be on these drugs. Like, I've never met anybody that's like, yeah, give me the drugs. I want all the drugs. Please give me the drugs. We have that little quiet voice inside that's like, I don't want to take these drugs. But we inevitably get cornered into it because we don't know what else to do. Okay? Let me tell you, transparency is the number one enemy of health insurance. And health insurance, you think big pharma is bad? Health insurance is far worse. It's what drives people into the pharma model. Stay tuned, everybody. This is Naturally Inspired Radio. I'm Tammy Cuthbert Garcia. We'll be right back.
Did you know that a single collagen supplement could support your heart health, help protect against EMF exposure, and reduce inflammation all at the same time? Our preferred foundational collagen not only supports radiant skin and joint mobility, but also promotes heart health, reduces inflammation, strengthens hair and nails, provides added protection against the effects of EMF exposure, and so much more. Our favorite collagen is super absorbable and easy to take. Just 1 tablespoon in the morning and another in the evening for maximum benefits. Here's what our listeners have to say.
This collagen is so easy to take, I've noticed a huge difference in my hair and nails after just a few weeks.
Since I started using Tammy's preferred collagen, my joints feel more flexible and my skin looks smoother.
Try it today at naturallyinspiredradio.com/collagen. When you purchase from Naturally Inspired, you get access to our group health coaching call and so much more. Go to naturallyinspiredradio.com/collagen.
Support the show. You feel like this information would benefit somebody you know? We'd love it if you'd share the show with somebody else. Get into the Naturally Inspired community. You can do it by taking advantage of these huge January specials. Buy one, get one free, over 25 products at naturallyinspiredstore.com. Listen, if you make a purchase as little as $50, that gets you into the Naturally Inspired community. You get access to my Priority Health text line. You get our Tuesday night weekly wellness workshops and so much more. So you're buying this stuff anyway. I know you are. Everybody knows wellness, wellness products are great tools on your optimum health journey. So get them with us. We'd be so grateful if you did. If you have any questions at all, go to you can text me at 720-303-8868 or just go to the website, naturallyinspiredstore.com. Okay, so we have this huge exposure. And like I said, these guys are so, diplomatic, right? Because they are negotiating with these huge monster corporations. And they're trying to get, they're trying to move the ball down the field little by little. And there's been some pretty big gut blows to these corporations recently. Of course, the vaccine schedule. Second, the food pyramid switch. Third, we have people like Marty McCary and Dr. Ben Carson coming into the public doing, speaking in front of the camera and saying, you can reverse your type 2 diabetes. I mean, this is like crazy talk compared to what we used to hear. You know what I'm saying? So, the pharma model, the insurance model, this is their bread and butter. Oh, yeah. Insulin resistance. They love it. Type 2 diabetes. Oh, yeah. Keep it coming. This is endless money for these people. You want to stick it to the corporations. You want to stick it to them. Get healthy. Okay? Because they have a disease care model that needs consumers that have disease. So I don't know how many times I've exposed the health care, the insurance model on this show, but I'm going to do it yet again because I found even another person that is making videos about it as well. So I have 3 clips here in this series, and it kind of breaks down how insurance has built in, okay? And I'll say this allegedly, because of course I don't want to get sued. And let me tell you, these insurance companies are brutal. I mean, I think you can kind of get to just how brutal they are when, one of their CEOs was murdered in the street. I'm telling you, these entities are run like the mafia. Not any specific. I'm not naming anybody here. I'm just saying in general, right? Allegedly. These corporations, man, this is the way I do it. I look at it and I think, what would Tony Soprano do to maximize his profits? What would he do? Gives you a pretty good idea of what they're doing. All right, let's get to it. So there's 3 clips here, and it explains healthcare in a nutshell. Let's go to clip 1.
Medicine cheaper has actually been flowing to what appear to be shell corporations, several of them outside of the United States. And these are fronts for some of the biggest healthcare companies in the world. If you've picked up a prescription in the United States, there's a greater than 90% chance that one of these companies was involved. So this matters to you. You probably haven't heard of Ascent or Zinc or MSR, but you've definitely heard of their parent companies, United Healthcare, CVS, Cigna. Since on paper, these are some of the most profitable companies in the world, we decided to visit their headquarters. This is the singer Rafaela visiting the headquarters of Zinc Health Services. She happens to live nearby.
No answer.
Zinc claims to provide billions of dollars worth of services, but each time we visited their headquarters, on this weekday and this one, it was empty. Across the world, tucked in the back of a shiny office building in Dublin, no one was at MSR either, according to the Pulitzer Prize-winning reporter we sent to check out the place. Where is everyone? Meanwhile, in Schaffhausen, a tax shelter outside of Zurich known for corporate secrecy, there were actually about a half dozen employees working in the office. The company called the police on our reporter. Thankfully, the police actually had a lot of problems with the American healthcare system and let us go easily. But the point is, there's 3 supposed headquarters in 3 countries belonging to what are supposed to be some of the most revenue-generating companies in the world, and essentially nobody works there. And in case you're wondering whether they just work from home, we scraped LinkedIn, job boards, we found that about 150 people work at these companies. We estimate that these companies are making about $50 million per employee. That's more than Apple and Nvidia combined, times 10. And who's paying these companies? You! Through your health insurance. Okay, let me back up. These subsidiaries are called PBM GPOs. They're essentially the middlemen's middlemen. And Hunter Brook spent a year investigating these mysterious entities to answer the question, who are these people making massive profits off of your prescriptions? What we figured out is that these companies are capturing billions of dollars. People have died, and they will not answer any questions about it. CVS even sued to block a Freedom of Information Act request that we made. But we got the documents anyway. And what we realized over the course of this whole process is that the confusion is the point. These companies don't want you to understand what they're doing. They want you to shut off this video. They want you to think that it's boring. That's why you have to pay attention. It's why you have to watch. It's why we kept reporting the story for a year. Because the best scams are hard to understand. Otherwise, you'd already know about them. Okay, listen closely. Here's the deal. Who decides which drugs your insurance is going to cover? It's not your employer or even your insurance company. It's a middleman, a PBM, a pharmacy.
Okay, are you seeing a pattern here? Are you seeing a pattern here? Empty shell companies. Nobody's working there. People are calling the police on reporters, asking questions. Have you seen any of this recently? You guys, this is a racket. And a little formula has been developed to get your money from you, even mandate you through paying taxes or, have to have health insurance, don't you? Gotta have it. Mandating you to pay, and then they take your money and they form a little racket with it, right? We know that the government subsidize healthcare up to 30%. These big insurance companies are getting your taxpayer money in order to provide health insurance for everybody. But you gotta have it. You also have to pay your premiums on top of them using your tax dollars to subsidize it. Then it goes a step further. Because insurance companies, they were getting in a little trouble. They were getting in a little trouble because pharmaceuticals were getting, they were pricing them out. They were so high. So instead of a third party coming in and auditing everything, these health insurance companies said, oh, no, we'll regulate ourselves. Here's what we'll do. We'll create this middleman called a pharmacy benefit manager, and they'll negotiate pricing for us, from the pharmaceutical companies. So the pharmacy benefit manager negotiates across the board prices for drugs on behalf of the insurance company. Only there's kind of a little problem here. And the problem is that the insurance companies own the pharmacy benefit manager companies. Let's go to part 2.
So most prescription drugs in the US are bought with insurance, and your health insurance plan will hire a PBM to figure out what drugs will be covered at what pharmacies and how much you'll pay. Think of PBMs as like a bouncer at the club. You've got to grease them if you want to get in, except the club is called a formulary, which is the list of drugs your insurance covers, and PBMs aren't paid in cash. They're paid what are called rebates, basically discounts on drugs, in exchange for coverage. So instead of individual plans negotiating with manufacturers, PBMs leverage their size to get better deals. It's like, hey, pharma, I handle prescriptions for millions of people. If you want my plans to cover your drugs, you're going to need to pay up. So drug companies essentially try to convince PBMs to insure their drugs by offering rebates. The thing is, rebates, which are basically discounts, are supposed to be passed on to patients. It's supposed to make your drugs cheaper. But there's a problem. PBMs spent years skimming off the top, taking a cut of these rebates. Eventually, people caught on, they weren't happy, and the PBMs made a promise. They said they would pass on 100% of rebates, which is pretty good, right? But by the time United Healthcare made this promise,
that is why this morning we are committing to a full 100% pass-through of all rebates that we negotiate at the PBM back to the payer, the state, or the union.
The PBMs had already reinvented themselves. The big 3 PBMs spun off new subsidiaries, those PBM GPOs, MSR, Zinc, and Ascent, aka the middlemen's middlemen. And basically what happens now is that the PBMs tell the plan that they're passing through 100% of the rebate, but the PBM doesn't call all the money it gets from drug makers rebates anymore. Instead, the PBM has pharma pay fees to the affiliated PBM GPO, which the PBM keeps. Again, these aren't rebates, they're called fees. So you, the patient, might get 100% of the rebate that the PBM is getting, but you don't get any of the fees, which is now how the PBMs are making money without you knowing it. Basically, the healthcare giants have moved the ball. They've changed how they get paid, and they've kept it a secret.
The biggest 3 PBMs are owned by the biggest 3 insurance companies. They decided that they needed to create these subsidiaries called rebate GPOs so that they could negotiate the rebates and then charge.
Who gets stuck holding the bag? We do. We do. Oh, the glorious fee. This word fee, it just kills me. It just kills me because I remember one specific time. Anytime you're dealing with the government or, any of its little subsidiaries, you're always feed out the door, man. Fee here, fee there, fee. And I remember one time I wasn't having a very happy day, wasn't feeling too happy in the DMV, as you can imagine, not a happy place to be. But I remember going up to the counter and you know how they print out that thing and they tell you, okay, this is how much money you owe. And, I looked at the printout and it just said fee. It's like, I'm like, okay, this says fee, but like, what's it for? And the lady just looked at me like a deer in headlights. What do you mean it's a fee? I go, yeah, but what's it for? Well, it's a fee. It's a user fee. You guys, we've been feed out the yin yang here. It's time to stop the fees. I'll tell you what I mean when we come back. You're listening to Naturally Inspired Radio. I'm Tammy Cuthbert Garcia, and I am so glad you're here. We'll be right back.
Did you know 80% of beef consumed in the U.S. comes from 4 major corporations, much of it being imported or processed with additives? Want real beef from a real farm? Pumpkin Creek Ranch does things the right way. Local, grass-fed, dry-aged beef with no additives, no shortcuts, just honest quality.
Pumpkin Creek Ranch beef is the real deal. I love knowing exactly where my meat comes from. No additives, no nonsense, just honest quality beef.
Best beef I've ever had. You can taste the difference. Rich, tender, and packed with real flavor. Plus, supporting a local ranch makes it even better.
From pasture to plate, they raise their cattle with care, so you can get rich, natural flavor that only real ranching can provide. Stock your freezer with premium beef you can trust. Visit pumpkincreekranchco.com or call 970-658-0176.
So I've put together a special group for ladies. It's called the New Hormone Harmony Group. So if you're struggling in perimenopause, menopause, postmenopause, not feeling like you have energy, not feeling like you're sleeping well, not feeling like you have a handle on, your vitality, this group's for you. Okay, you've been lied to, and your metabolic health is, it is the foundation of feeling well. And to understand your metabolic health, you have to understand your hormones. So I'm putting together a group here. You can get more information and get into it at the naturallyinspiredstore.com. It's the New Hormone Harmony Group. It is for ladies, and I can't wait to get started on this one and take away your frustrations. So you can have any questions, just text me 720-303-8868. Otherwise, get in the group at naturallyinspiredstore.com. All right, let's get moving along here. I have one more clip I want to share with you that explains the kind of scheme that we have going on here. Like everybody has, it's a very similar pattern, and it makes you start to think like, why did Elon get sidelined there for a little while when he was doing Doge, right? Because so much of government money was being filtered through NGOs and distributed to these fake operations, right? Subsidies for childcare, subsidies for healthcare, subsidies for all these things. It's your money. You know where I think they got the fee idea from? Hatched this scheme? I think it came directly from the FDA. Because you see, the FDA has what they call user fees. Wink, wink, right? No, you can't pay to get your product approved by the FDA. You can't. But you can pay a user fee, which it covers your application fee so that they can, strictly review your product and not give you an approval, but give you no word at all. You see what I mean? So the FDA never puts its stamp of approval on products like, yes, this has been approved. We looked at this, this, and this is why we have approved it. No, they don't do that. With the FDA, no news is good news. So you pay your user fee, okay? Wink, wink. And they look at your product for a while, wink, wink. And then they don't tell you anything, especially not in writing. This is how this apparatus, this healthcare, disease care, incestuous, hot mess of a scam works, okay? They did it. We didn't do it. They did it. Yeah. So the CDC says, well, we're following WHO guidelines. And the WHO says, well, we're following CDC guidelines. And the CDC says, well, it's FDA approved. He did it. He did it. He did it. He did it. Right? And you never can quite figure out who's responsible for what. This is the formula. And I suspect when we get down to the real fraud of this racket of insurance, it'll be the same thing. you can't really trace it back to who started what, where, because these insurance companies have so many sub-companies beneath them. You wouldn't even like, it's ridiculous. For goodness sakes, they loan money out. They own doctors' offices. They own urgent cares. They own all kinds of things. And they're getting your taxpayer dollars. Now listen, brace yourself, okay? Because I know more than when I talked about the darker, deeper things, your churches are in these patterns too. Okay? Your churches are in the same patterns. And it's not just this church. Oh, it's not my church. It's not my religion. It's that. No. It's everywhere. Doesn't mean your little church is involved. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that, these uber wealthy, and, these pastors that just are out there talking politics and same kind of patterns. Same kind of patterns. So the good news is once you know the pattern, you figure it out and then you're like, oh my gosh, it's actually my money they're using. They're using our money. This is crazy, right? How did this happen? How this could happen? How did It's happening. It's been happening. And you got to wonder if that's, maybe they weren't ready for all that Elon was about to expose. It's either that, they weren't ready. They didn't have the negotiating pull that they needed at the time. I don't know. Circumstances weren't right for negotiating. Or maybe it was the fact that Trump kind of poo-pooed the electric mandate of everybody's got to be electric by such and such date. Obviously, Elon runs Tesla. I don't know what it was, but we're getting here now. We're getting here now with the fraud. All right, I have one more clip I want to share with you from the very same little piece.
Money for doing the rebate negotiation, even though you would think a multi-$100 billion company would be able to do that without creating a subsidiary.
As insured, PBMs might now pass through 100% of the rebate they receive to patients, but they're now collecting new kickbacks through these new subsidiaries. And manufacturers are paying all kinds of fees to these PBM GPOs. Data fees, portal fees, administrative fees. Those fees now essentially get baked into what you pay for prescriptions. And while PBMs claim that these middlemen provide billions of dollars in services to drug makers every year, and that's why they're being paid, remember, as far as we can tell, they barely do anything. And given how much money these companies make per employee, we're left asking this question. Do we really think these are the most productive companies in human history? More productive than Nvidia and Apple combined times 10? Or do we think that these companies and the data services that they provide are a shell, a fiction, a corporate invention? We actually spoke to some of the people who helped start these companies and a bunch of people who worked there. And here's what they told us. A former Zinc executive said, quote, "There was nothing to sell you. It was just access to the formularies." Which means they're essentially saying that the middlemen weren't actually being paid billions for their data services. They were being paid by pharma companies just to have their drugs covered. A similar sentiment was expressed by Kent Rogers, a former executive of United Health's PBM, Optum Rx, who co-founded MSR in Ireland. He told us, quote, "The intention of the GPO is to create a fee structure that can be retained and not passed on to a client." He said that in a quote. Rogers, and one of the co-founders of Ascent, Cigna's PBM GPO in Switzerland, also said a big part of the reason why these companies are based outside the United States is for tax reasons. And it wasn't just the executives who saw this way. Lower level employees had the same view. As one of them told us, quote, "They move money here and there. It looks like washing money, shifting money. It's nothing else." The scale is hard to comprehend. These are billions of dollars every year. Money that should be making your drugs cheaper and instead is being sent to essentially empty offices around the world.
Nobody here.
So that's the scheme. And it isn't just money moving.
And that, everybody, is your, best healthcare in the world. That's the system that we have. It is so incredibly predatory. I don't even have words to describe the system that we are in for healthcare. I talk to people every single day And by the way, I had a great day today, or yesterday rather, talking to people all day long. I love spending my time with you. I love hearing your stories. Let me tell you, I've interviewed hundreds of people over the years, hundreds. And I'll tell you, you all are so interesting. Your stories, the journey that you've been on with your health, your openness to understand that health is so many things. It's not just your biology. People are waking up to this, that, hey, my brain actually is in control, is in the driver's seat of my body. So I enjoy my time with you. But I'll tell you, it's heartbreaking because I know the system that you're coming out of. And it's wonderful to see you wake up and reclaim your health. But it's heartbreaking to know that you had to go through this much pain to get to this point where you understand how this works. It is criminal, in my opinion. It is criminal. How did this happen? How did it get to the point where, every time anybody, any leader, expert, whatever, is talking about health, whoop, the graphic goes up on the side to the stock market. If just so you know, I do hours of research all the time for this show and for, service of other people. And the best place for me to find information on health is on financial papers. Financial papers provide a lot of information about what's actually happening with a drug, what's happening with insurance companies. This is just not about your health at all. They created a medical economy, and it requires fuel. And you are the fuel. Your children are the fuel. And so when you start looking at it from that point of view, you begin to realize, now put it together. Look at what's happening with this in Minnesota with the Somalis, right? They bring in all these people. They start giving them free money. Start a business here. We'll help you. We'll help you start a business so that we can grant you money and you can pay it back to us in the form of donations. Same type of thing happens in healthcare. It's called a clawback with these pharmacy benefit managers. Hey, we'll negotiate fair pricing and then we'll claw the money back from the pharmacy benefit manager back to the mother company. Never passing any savings on to you. You wonder why, the price of an ambulance can get to be as much as, $3,000. It's time to scrap it. The question moving forward that we must start talking about is, what do we want? What do we want for our health care? We've got to start designing it. Stay tuned. This is Naturally Inspired Radio, and your Naturally Inspired moment is up next.
Did you know that nearly 70% of Americans struggle with their health every single day? That's why we are reaching out to health professionals and to anyone who simply has a heart for helping people. Right now, there's an opportunity to make a real difference in people's lives while building a flexible income stream for yourself. Whether you're already working in health, wellness, or just passionate about seeing people thrive, we want to connect with you and introduce you to our system. Together, we can provide real solutions that empower people to take control of their health and create lasting impact. If you've been looking for a way to combine purpose with income, this is it. Visit simplehealthincome.com or text 720-764-7448. That's simplehealthincome.com or text 720-764-7448. We look forward to working with you.
Maybe you just heard me talk about how I spend my days. I spend my days with you. We spend some time designing how to move forward in your optimum health journey. I think it's just good to have somebody listen. One of the main comments I get is that people don't feel heard anymore. They go to a doctor, they go to a practitioner, and it's, come on, in and out. I put this information into the iPad, and the iPad tells me, okay, you need this drug, this. Okay, thank you. See you later. Bye. And nobody really feels heard. And so that's what I do. I actually listen. And the reason why I listen is because there is so much information in your story. Clues. When did things start going south? Was it early on in your life? Have you been one of those chronically ill kids that turned into a kind of chronically ill adult? Well, that's a clue. Okay. What kind of food are you eating? Another clue. How are you sleeping? Another clue. What kind of mobility do you have in your body? What's your gut like? Are you going to the bathroom every day? Yes, I do ask those questions because I'm working with you to discover what's truly going on. Okay. I don't give medical advice. I don't advise on anything. What I do is I help people reveal the clues and where they need to connect to real solutions for health. So schedule your free assessment. I'd love to do one with you. You can do it at naturallyinspiredstore.com. Now let's move on to our naturally inspired moment, because after all that fraud talk, let me tell you, after all that fraud talk, we need a little shot of inspiration, don't we? Actually, I'm excited about it, if you can't tell, because I think we are getting, like I said, we're getting to the level now, there's surface fraud, there's the normies that are like, oh, I can't believe this was happening. And maybe they thought it was just happening in one area. I don't know. This goes deep, right? Like I said at the beginning of the show, everybody feels it. Everybody who's connected, right, feels it, that this is a spiritual war and that there's something very dark beneath it. And they're right. There is. And I feel that we're getting closer and closer to that being revealed to more and more people, which can only bring good, right? Because when we're aware, we do better. All right, let's talk about our naturally inspired moment for today. Today, I'm talking about clarity. Let me tell you, I have had a lesson on clarity in the last couple years. It could be the most important thing when you're working towards a goal, when you're making changes in your life, when you're doing anything. It's so important to have clarity. Now, in our society, we often focus on being smarter or, showing off how smart we are. Look at how complex this is. Nobody can understand this because it's so complex. I'm so smart. I'm doing so much. I'm so good here. Right? This is kind of what we tell ourselves. Not really, not consciously, but maybe subconsciously. I don't know. Do you ever find like you're making things harder than they need to be? Because the answer couldn't be that simple. But maybe it is. That's why it's so important to get clarity. You can have the best ideas and, you can have the most, valid motivation, you can have all these things, so passionate about it. But if you do not have clarity and a way to express your ideas and your actions in a clear way, it's going to get lost in the mud. Okay, so let me tell you more about what I mean. We live in a culture that confuses complexity with intelligence. More steps, more experts, more information, more programs, more noise, okay? But clarity is what actually moves people. Clarity always beats complexity every single time. So here are 5 truths to anchor this idea. Number 1, clarity creates confidence. Isn't that the truth, right? When you're not quite sure what the next step is, sometimes you lose your motivation to keep moving forward, right? Or fear arises. So it's very important to get clarity because clarity creates confidence. When something is clear, you know your next step. Confidence doesn't come from knowing everything. It comes from knowing what to do next. Confusion keeps people stuck, and clarity sets people in motion. So listen, you don't have to know all the steps that are going to get you to the finish line. You don't need to know them all at once. You need to know the next step. That's it. So instead of trying to focus on, I've got to learn all this stuff, like I need to know about insulin resistance, I need to know about this, blah, 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 like, it just becomes overwhelming. Just think about, what am I doing tomorrow? What are my next steps? And then the next day, what am I doing today? You know, it brings clarity. And if it can bring clarity to your daily routine, then, you know, you get practiced at it. With repetition and with practice comes confidence. Number 2, complexity hides responsibility. That's what these fraudsters do. They make it so complex. Like, how many companies do they have under here? I laugh because it's just, it's so evil, you know? So evil. And I have to laugh because evil's stupid. It's so stupid. It can't creates way more work for itself. Because, I mean, it's so hard to keep track of lies, right? I mean, you got a web of deceit that you spend all your time concealing. When it could be so easy if you just stood on truth, right? Because it's a clear shot. It's very clear when you're telling the truth. When you're lying, when you're coming from, a dark place, it gets really complex and really fast. So complexity hides responsibility. Overcomplicated systems often remove personal agency. If it's too complex, someone else might be in charge. That's kind of how we think. I might need to give my agency over to somebody else. Clarity brings responsibility back where it belongs, to you, to the individual. That's happened a lot in the healthcare system. We think that our biology is too complex to understand, so we have to give our agency over to someone else. And really, the foundations of health are quite simple. They're quite simple. Nutrition, sleep, movement, hydration, right? There's some key components where you can get a long way just with those simple things if you're clear on them. Number 3, nature itself, simple. The body heals with sleep, nourishment, movement, light, connection. Just like soil, it regenerates with rest, diversity, right? Changing crops over, and care, right? Not disregard for nature. Nature doesn't need 47 steps. It needs alignment. It's got a very specific path. Certain things that happen, knock it off its path, and then you've got dysfunction. Same with your body. It needs a certain amount of nutrition. It needs a certain amount of movement. It needs to feel safe. It needs a regulated nervous system. These are the types of things it needs. And when it gets those things, it's really pretty simple formula to optimum health. And safety is where healing begins. The nervous system, so clarity reduces stress. The nervous system calms when it understands what's happening. Again, stop thinking about knowing all the things and focus on knowing the next thing. The nervous system calms when it understands what's happening. Repetition calms the nervous system. Complexity, it just creates overwhelm. And clarity creates safety. Safety is where healing begins. We can get out of fight or flight, knowing what we're expecting. All we're required to do is do the next right thing. Number 5, truth is usually simple. Oh, yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. Oh my gosh, these fraudsters, these gangsters, right? These gangsters got the stories out the wazoo. Well, we did this because we had to do that. And then we went here and fee here, user fee. Like, okay, jokester, like the gig is up, right? The gig is up. When something is true, it can be explained clearly. When it's not, it often requires layers of justification. Clarity isn't dumbed down. It's not dumbing yourself down. It's really distilled wisdom. You're just getting clear about what you have to do next. So the next time you find someone, or even us, we all do it sometimes. We think that things need to be, that must be over my head. I'm not qualified for that. That's really complex. I don't know if I can understand, that. I need to give my agency over to someone else to do my thinking for me. I want you to think about the healthcare that we've just talked about over the last hour. Do you really want to give your agency over to fraudsters? Now, I'm not talking about people that have gone to medical school. Most people who go to medical school, they go because they think it's going to make them rich, which is kind of funny. And because the amount of work, there are other things you can do to be rich that doesn't require that amount of work and intensity. So they go because they want to make money, or they go because they want to help people. And let me tell you, the second one, the helping people one, a few years in this system, and these people, they see very clearly that the system is set up for medicine, medical care, is not set up to help people. And many of them leave and they go do other things. They either write books about health, or they start speaking about health, or they open up private practice where they can implement functional medicine approach, or, they become a chiropractor, or they become a nutritionist. They get out because they quickly realize you can't truly help somebody in that model when it comes to chronic disease. Now, I'm not talking about emergency medicine here, right? I say this all the time, but I feel like I have to say it repeatedly because in terms of emergency medicine, we have a very good system. And of course, emergency medicine requires pharmaceuticals. It requires those things because it's life-saving emergency medicine. But when it comes to dis-ease in the body, especially chronic disease, this system is so predatory, and it is not set up in any way to get you healthy. It's set up to get you medicated and managed. And they want you in it as long as possible. Their intention isn't health. It's about consumerism. And you are the consumer. And so people get stuck in this model, but good people get out. That's for sure. You are listening to Naturally Inspired Radio. Your Naturally Inspired moment today is about clarity. How can you bring clarity to your everyday life? Stay tuned, everybody. Hour 2 is coming up, and you are not going to want to miss these news stories and your health topic. We'll be right back.
Are you ready to stay informed and inspired 24/7? Tune in to Naturally Inspired Radio anytime, anywhere. Visit naturallyinspiredradio.com, or for the best mobile experience, download the Simple Radio app. Search for Naturally Inspired Radio. Save it to your favorites, and click on the graphic to listen instantly. Catch live broadcasts, revisit past shows, dive into long-form podcast conversations, and discover rare, censored presentations by leading health experts. Plus, explore documentaries uncovering the hidden truths of occult and esoteric history. Stay connected, stay inspired. Naturally Inspired Radio is always at your fingertips. Tune in now. For health questions or comments, text Tammy directly at 720-303-8868. naturallyinspiredradio.com.
Welcome to Naturally Inspired Radio, where we expose what's broken in the healthcare system, connect you to real health solutions, and inspire you to take back control of your life. We want to help you feel empowered, informed, and free to live naturally without fear, confusion, or dependency. Download our latest book on real solutions for health at naturallyinspiredradio.com. Naturally Inspired Radio is a nationally syndicated show broadcast on over 100 radio stations, online platforms, video channels, and podcast feeds. Follow us on your favorite platform today, hit that like button, leave a comment, and engage in our special live stream chats, Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Visit naturallyinspiredradio.com to learn more, register for our weekly giveaway, and explore past episodes. You can also connect directly with Tammy, follow her on all major social media platforms, and discover more about our featured guests and trusted radio partners. Are you looking for better health? Work with Tammy today and take the first step toward a healthier, more empowered lifestyle. Schedule your complimentary 30-minute lifestyle assessment to explore personalized guidance on nutrition, movement, toxin-free living, and natural beauty without pharma. Get started now and discover Tammy's preferred health products at naturallyinspiredstore.com or text Tammy directly 720-303-8868. Love the show and want to support the movement? Head over to naturallyinspiredradio.com and click on the support tab. There you'll find all the ways you can get involved. Join our Naturally Inspired community, become a preferred customer, attend one of our amazing live events, get your backstage pass for exclusive access, and connect to all things naturally inspired. Thank you for tuning in today. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
The information and other content provided on this radio show or in any linked materials is provided for informational purposes only, not intended and should not be construed as medical advice. It is not a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment.
Welcome back. You are entering hour 2 of the Naturally Inspired Radio Show. I'm so glad you're joining me today. If you missed the first hour, you got to head back and catch it because we were talking about fraud. It just seems like fraud is being exposed everywhere, and that does not exclude healthcare. And we're getting some good traction in the healthcare world these days. People are starting to really understand how this model is broken, how it's predatory, and how we need to fix it. The next conversation we really have to start having, as we reveal the fraud in healthcare, is what do we want? What does this, and trust me, I've spent a lot of time thinking about this, and I don't have what I would call the perfect healthcare model down quite yet. But I know it has to involve prevention. I know that it has to involve transparency. Now, I'm a little concerned about the transparency part, when Bobby Kennedy's talking about like information databases or whatever, like your information will be available on your cell phone. And that means, all digital stuff. And that kind of scares me. We got to have a conversation about how our health data will be protected in the future. That's something we got to talk about. We need incentivization for doing things that better our health. Right now, we're not incentivized to be healthy when it comes to premiums and health insurance. We don't get to choose our care. That's another variable that we have to fight for, that we have to push for. We should be able to choose our care. We're adults. We're paying for something. We can use discernment and make our own choices. My body, my choice, right? Right? Except for when it comes to our healthcare, apparently. Anyway, these are the conversations that we really have to start having. We have to, if we don't have a vision for the type of healthcare that we want, then we're not going to get it. And so we all have to start thinking about, wow, it'd be nice if we, had places to go that include maybe exercise, like gym membership, or maybe, we're incentivized to if we practice prevention, that shows up in our premiums. Like, these are the types of conversations we have to have, and we've got to start designing that model. We've been abused, really, seriously, we've been abused for so long. Look at this fraud that's being exposed. It's almost like we don't expect to be treated well. We don't expect it. Yeah, I'm sure it's all scam. Oh, yeah, you get that wherever you go. Like, collectively, we act like a bunch of abused people. It's like we just put up with it. Well, you get what you tolerate. We've got to start building a vision. What would a perfect healthcare system look like? Of course, nothing's perfect, but it's got to be better than this, right? It's got to be better than this. That's for sure. Anyway, speaking of that, we are in charge of shaping culture in this country, and we should never forget that. Yes, we have, an administration that seems to be working in our favor right now, and things are changing, but we cannot rely on politicians or legislation to shape culture in our country. We must take personal responsibility for our country, for the culture in our country. The only people shaping culture is us, because we're the ones out here acting every day. We're the ones going places, engaging, buying things, doing stuff. We shape the culture. And so today, I know there's a lot of forces out there. Of course, I tell you that every day. A lot of forces out there that would have you believe that you're American and you don't even have culture. And that is a lie. You do indeed have culture, and it is a fantastic one. And for today's culture moment, I want to talk about caregiving and community. It's kind of been under attack, culturally, we've been under attack in a lot of ways. Attack on the family, attack on the marriage. That's all purposeful. Because when we're not united, when we don't have community, we're weak. We're weak. We're out there isolated, trying to fend for ourselves. We don't have confidence. We're not sure. We give our agency over to other people that we're told are experts. When we're community, we have backing, right? We have confidence. We have people to discuss stuff with. We can express our critical thinking to each other and press back on each other and get down to the truth of what we really think is going on. And we've lost a lot of that. Specifically, caregiving has changed in America. So let me just remind you, historically, caregiving culture in America, like in the colonial era between mid-20th to mid-20th century, it was very family-centered and home-based. Caregiving was expected to happen inside the family, usually women, mothers, daughters, wives, extended family, grandparents, aunts, older children, and elder care. The elders helped out with childbirth. They helped out with illness, disability. As your kid, and then as they aged, the favor was returned. Right? We cared for the elderly. Now, I know many of you are taking care of your elderly parents, and you find yourself in a situation that's difficult because our society is no longer community-based. It feels very isolating when you're taking care of your parents. That's because we've moved away from community. We don't so much have the ability to rely on neighbors to kind of fill in the gaps when we're caring for elderly or even the young. So economic and social reality back then, farming and trade economies required children to contribute early. It required elders to pass down skills. Dependence was normal and cyclical. Now I think dependence, it feels like weakness to a lot of people. We've been conned into thinking it's weakness to be a part of a community. People even apply social pressure for get your kids out of the house. They got to be living on their own, you know. As soon as they're 18, get them out of the house. They got to get going. Why? Why exactly? Dependence was normal and cyclical. So community and moral duty, churches, neighbors, mutual aid societies, they filled in gaps. Caregiving was viewed as a moral responsibility, a sign of character and family honor, and no expectation that the government or corporations would step in. Medicine was limited back then. There were few hospitals. Doctors often visited homes. They made home visits. And most care equals comfort, nutrition, rest, prayer, and presence. A key belief back then was caregiving is a natural part of family and community life. But there was a transition era in the 1930s and to the 1970s. The industrialization changed everything. Urbanization pulled families apart geographically. Wage labor replaced home-based economics. Men worked outside the home and women became more domestic caregivers. There was the rise of the institutions, creation of programs like Social Security, later Medicare and Medicaid, growth of hospitals, nursing homes, psychiatric institutions. Care increasingly became professionalized and outsourced. World War II and after, women entered the workforce en masse, and after the war, women were expected to work and continue caregiving. Not so much a community approach anymore, but the burden was landing square on women. There was no structural support that was built to handle both, and so caregiving became invisible labor that was just expected, unpaid, and undervalued. Today, in modern caregiving culture from the 1980s, they call it the sandwich generation. Adults caring for children and aging parents, often while working full time. And many caregivers are chronically stressed, financially strained, and emotionally exhausted. Medicalized but fragmented, care is spread across insurance companies, home health agencies, facilities, and government programs. Families coordinate care but aren't supported as caregivers. So then the economic pressure becomes a burden, and most caregivers are unpaid and underpaid. So there's a cultural contradiction here. Here are American values: independence, productivity, youth, self-sufficiency now. But caregiving requires dependence, slowness, emotional labor, long-term commitment. Caregivers feel guilt, shame, and burnout instead of honor and support. So I was thinking about this, and I think there's a gap here. We've gotten away from community support when it comes to caring for the elderly and even for young people. And I think that is a real problem, because if you're not caring for your elderly or elderly at some point, you really miss out on knowing who you are. There's an ancestral component. And if you don't understand when it comes to trauma, behavior, even our health, ancestral trauma is a term that is known, that it is actually unresolved trauma, and it refers to the idea that unresolved stress, fear, and survival patterns experienced by previous generations can influence how later generations think, feel, and respond to the world, even if they didn't directly experience the original trauma. This influence shows up biologically, emotionally, behaviorally, and culturally. And so if we never spend time with our elders in our family, because we outsource it culturally, then we miss out on this component of understanding who we really are. So you can't really know who you are if you don't know where you come from. And we've pushed that aside as a culture, I feel like. We don't value it anymore. So here are some ways that ancestral trauma is passed down through biological pathways, through epigenetics. Severe stress, famine, war, or prolonged fear can affect how genes are expressed, not changing DNA itself, but how genes turn on and off, which of course is epigenetics. These stress patterns can be passed to offspring, influencing your stress response, so how your nervous system responds, cortisol regulation, immune function, metabolism, anxiety sensitivity. The body learns survival before the mind does. It's a biological function. Nervous system conditioning. Parents just don't pass down beliefs. They pass down regulation or dysregulated nervous systems. So children learn what feels safe, what feels threatening, whether rest is allowed, whether vigilance is necessary, behavior and emotional patterns, cultural and family narratives. I think we need a shift in caregiving again. We need to come back to community. That's where it started. That's real American culture. We'll be back after this break.
Did you know that a single collagen supplement could support your heart health, help protect against EMF exposure, and reduce inflammation all at the same time? Our preferred foundational collagen not only supports radiant skin and joint mobility, but also promotes heart health, reduces inflammation, strengthens hair and nails, provides added protection against the effects of EMF exposure, and so much more. Our favorite collagen is super absorbable and easy to take. Just 1 tablespoon in the morning and another in the evening for maximum benefits. Here's what our listeners have to say.
This collagen is so easy to take, I've noticed a huge difference in my hair and nails after just a few weeks.
Since I started using Tammy's preferred collagen, my joints feel more flexible and my skin looks smoother.
Try it today at naturalinspiredradio.com/collagen. When you purchase from Naturally Inspired, you get access to our group health coaching call and so much more. Go to naturalinspiredradio.com/collagen.
We're back. Do you feel overwhelmed by vitamins, supplements, wellness products? Like you don't know where to start. You know you need them. They're valuable tools, but you hear about this, you hear about that, and you just don't know where to start. Well, listen, I offer concierge service. All right. So I will sit with you. I will look through the kinds of supplements that you're already using. I am happy to place your order with you live, in person, on the phone. I do it all the time, and bring clarity to your optimum health journey. So book your assessment with me, naturallyinspiredstore.com. And I'm happy, you can just scroll down the page a little bit, book an assessment with me. I'm happy to sit and clarify a lot of these things that you hear. If you have any questions about it, just text me, 720-303-8868. All right, I got a new, what do the kids say now? I got a new ick. I got a new ick. Jason loves it when I use all the kids' lingo. He just loves it. But I got a new ick. It's called a state network. Have you heard of this? Okay, let me lay this on you. So you probably heard about Denmark, right? Don't you find it interesting that there's been all this floating around of land grabbing? Like we're just going to take over Greenland, right? Denmark's getting upset about it. You're just like, you can't come in here and just take it. Then we're heading over to Venezuela, sticking our nose in over there. And then of course, this is my favorite, But Canada's going to be the 51st state. Do you get the vibe that there might be a little bit of need for some expansion, right? Why do you think that is? Well, I've thought about this, and I pretty much concluded that this is a land grab for resources because we need more space, we need more energy, we need more property, minerals, resources, water, all of it, of course, for the digital revolution. So I want to share this clip with you about the state network. Take a listen.
So Donald Trump is threatening to steal Greenland from Denmark, and a group funded by Silicon Valley billionaires wants to build a weird new tech city there. It sounds utterly bizarre, but it's even weirder and scarier than you think. Greenland's tech-driven takeover isn't about one frozen island. It's about Silicon Valley billionaires taking over the entire world. Because the plot to build a new tech city in Greenland is part of the extremist tech ideology called the network state. Here's a quick network state refresher. A cultish group of tech billionaires has decided that democracy no longer matters. They want to establish new territories, tiny corporate countries, under their control. These would be pure corporate autocracies, fiefdoms where tech elites have total power. The network state philosophy comes from extreme reactionary thinkers like Curtis Yarvin and Balaji Srinivasan. There's even an entire network state conference every year focused on creating these dystopias around the world. One of the key players in the network state, a startup called Praxis. The company says it has raised over $525 million to build a new city from scratch. The project's investors include funds connected to Peter Thiel, Sam Altman, and Mark Andreessen. A key idea in Praxis is to create a city based on crypto economics and government controlled by Silicon Valley eggheads. In fact, Balaji Srinivasan, the guy who wrote the Network State book, is an investor in Praxis. He calls the idea a form of tech Zionism. Until recently, Praxis marketed itself as a network state project. Last year, the project's website declared it would be the first network state in the next America built on the internet. Their pitch was,
as local communities dissolve and nation-states stumble, network states will ascend. The next global superpower will be a network state.
But today, Praxis seems to have downplayed the network state language on its website. Why? They may be trying to soften their pitch for their next target, and that target is Greenland. Praxis wants to turn the Danish territory into a network state. Let's talk about...
You know what else comes to mind? Gaza. Right? So what exactly is this? Well, this guy, this Balaji, he's written a book called The Network State. And essentially this is, it's technocracy at the highest level. Technocracy is an idea that started way back in the 70s. I've hosted Patrick Wood several times on Naturally Inspired podcast, and then he came out to my Naturally Inspired Health Summit as well and spoke one year, and he's been on this for a long time. And the idea of technocracy started in the 70s. And it is the concept, the ideology that technology is better equipped to run the world than people. That, science is king and that all decisions should really be made by technology. And this is just an advanced ideology of technocracy, the network state, where infrastructure is built in on these pieces of land. Interesting that they're all surrounded by water too, because we know water is a big resource when it comes to data centers and whatnot and cooling. And so, keep your eyes on the water because that's a huge resource. That's why we're going to start seeing these data centers pop up in these most rural areas, because rural areas, if they're not agriculturally zoned, they often have, not high population, and they have a surplus of water and resources. And so these tech people are moving in to build their data centers in rural towns, which if you're like me and you live in a rural town, it's like, I don't want that here, right? I can just imagine the EMF coming off of that sucker, a data center, right? Can you imagine that? Oh my gosh. Yuck. Anyway, I went and I looked up this, what's its name? Balaji. Again, I knew I was going to butcher his name. Balaji. I wanted to get a feel for, these guys are so compartmentalized, focused on their technology and how they're going to change the future. It's like they, I don't know, they're untethered from humanity. That's what it feels like to me. So I brought you a little clip just so you can get a feel for what this guy's talking about with the network state. Here it is.
A spiritual sequel, but also a standalone. So I want to talk about something, like a conceptual framework that I use to sort of organize how I'm thinking about the future, which I call the network state. And the basic idea is, just like every company is becoming a software company, every country will eventually be forced to become a software country. I'll dive into what this means and also how you might be able to personally benefit from it. We're going to basically talk about, 4 things, right? So you start your own company, you start your own community, like a social network, start your own currency, start your own country. And right now we are here, right? That's basically where we are on that roadmap, with digital currencies now at like 100-something billion, 130. Bitcoin might be at 4,000 by the time I get off the stage. That's pretty awesome. That completely didn't exist even, like 7-8 years ago. And where we're going from that is the next step will be starting your own country. That's where we're eventually going to go. And how do we actually get there? And that's basically this concept of the network state. So just to motivate the idea a little bit, basically what we used to have and what we still have are nation states, where essentially you have a geographical area, for example, Russia, and geography is primary, and the ideology is secondary. That same geography could be communist, it could be nationalist like it is now, but basically you swap the flags, you swap the ideology, the geography remains constant. But what we're moving towards is something where the ideology, the beliefs remain constant, and the location changes. So those are the 2 meetup spots for DevCon for Ethereum. So last year was in Shanghai, and this year's in Cancun. Same people, different place, same beliefs. Okay, as opposed to same people, same place, different beliefs, which is where the nation state was. And the thinking here is that, a lot of folks here are interested in stuff like seasteads and Mars colonies and what have you, and startup cities. But there's actually an achievable possible, what people call the adjacent possible that's feasible even, now. And what that is something I call crowd choice. It's basically collective bargaining with governments. So now it's, already, something's being done in small scale with like the Free State Project, where a bunch of libertarians moved to New Hampshire. It's something which, Elon Musk has done when he's like negotiating with Nevada. And it's something where, the tools for finding good locations, as I'll get into, have become much, much better. So you can actually comparison shop for the ideal.
You have water, accessible water for your data centers. Like, sorry, but this sounds like smart city prisons to me. Right? Like where they're going to flatten these areas. They're going to flatten them in order to build them up into these utopia digital prisons. Like digital everything, right? It's hard to imagine, but it's hard to imagine not having trees, not having animals, not having soil. And this, I'll go back to the darkness that, I think is starting to be revealed. It's the goal here. Like, why are we trying to create a digital version of reality? Because that's what they're trying to do. It's like reality is not good enough for these people. In my opinion, I just don't think they understand reality. I think we go back to, the technology-induced brain disorder. Like, you are so fixated and compartmentalized on technology and progress that you have lost the thread here. We already got trees. We don't need fake trees. We already got animals. We don't need robot animals, Like, I don't get you. I just don't get you. We have people. We don't need robots that look like people. If you want to make tools for people, make a machine. Why are you making them in our image? It's creepy. It's super creepy. Feels evil. Because evil can't create. It can only, steal and corrupt what occurs naturally. So yeah, that's what these guys are up to. Do you ever go to any of these YouTube channels and stuff? Because a lot of these guys, they're virtually unknown to like people like you and me, and they don't even get that many views on their podcasts and stuff like that. But if you really want to know what's going on, hang out in Tech-Tard Town, because it'll blow your mind. It'll blow your mind, these guys, okay? What they're focused on, is crazy, very compartmentalized, right? And again, there's the pattern of the synthesization of what occurs naturally in their world, blurring the line once again, between virtual and reality so that it's almost indistinguishable, especially to younger generations who don't have the experience in the real world, who are spending way too much time down the scroll hole or the portal. Call the phone the portal. I got 2 more stories to get to and your health topic. We're going to fly through them. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. This is Naturally Inspired Radio.
Did you know 80% of beef consumed in the U.S. comes from 4 major corporations, much of it being imported or processed with additives? Want real beef from a real farm? Pumpkin Creek Ranch does things the right way. Local, grass-fed, dry-aged beef with no additives, no shortcuts, just honest quality.
Pumpkin Creek Ranch beef is the real deal. I love knowing exactly where my meat comes from. No additives, no nonsense, just honest quality beef.
Best beef I've ever had. You can taste the difference. Rich, tender, and packed with real flavor. Plus, supporting a local ranch makes it even better.
From pasture to plate, they raise their cattle with care, so you can get rich, natural flavor that only real ranching can provide. Stock your freezer with premium beef you can trust. Visit pumpkincreekranchco.com or call 970-658-0176.
View all of our monthly specials. January, we still have buy one, get one frees available. Go view the flip book. All you got to do is go to naturallyinspiredstore.com. You can click on the January specials. It'll take you to the flip book. Has all of our buy one, get one free products. A couple of my favorites on there that you should check out. The liquid minerals. Always great to have liquid minerals on hand. Or even the omega jellies for those people who prefer to, eat gummies instead of swallow pills. We have those available that are buy one, get one free. We have wonderful antioxidant there and so much more. So check out our buy one, get one free at naturallyinspiredstore.com. All right, let's move to type 2 diabetes because there is a new drug on the market. Oh my goodness. Let's pull up that headline, will you, Jason? 2026 is the year of obesity pills. Here's how they could reshape the GLP-1 market. Of course, right now we have injectables, right? Very popular. In 2026, new obesity pills will push the booming GLP-1 market into its next chapter. Pills may serve as a more convenient and, in certain cases, cheaper alternative to today's blockbuster injections that could attract entirely new patients. Patients are already getting their hands on them. Well, here's the thing, everybody. some of these injectables are involved in class action lawsuits already because of their negative effects on people. And so the word's getting out, and this is kind of how things work. When word gets out that, maybe these are kind of dangerous, a new product comes in a different delivery system. And that's what I suspect is happening here, right? I don't want to inject myself because I've heard that that's dangerous. It paralyzes stomach, it causes, and go to drugs.com and look up the side effects of these injections, right? Comes with a lot of things. Not to mention, we've even heard reports now that research is indicating it can lead to mood changes like depression and whatnot. So there's a whole lot of serious outcomes that can come from the injectables. And so I think that word is getting out, and pharma is always reinventing itself, right? Always reinventing itself. So they've had the pills on the market for a while, but they weren't as popular. And so now I feel like they're pivoting to pills, everybody. So take a look at that as we go into the new year. The thing is about these GLP-1s, weight control comes from your brain, okay? And even a simple daily habit, this is a good one. Another article here from Fox News. A simple daily habit could help people with type 2 diabetes manage blood sugar. This is just one thing. Daylight. Sunshine. Natural daylight's effect on circadian rhythm could influence outcomes research suggests. You don't say. Oh my goodness, we've known this for a long time, right? Cortisol, is a hormone, and when insulin is disrupted, cortisol is often disrupted, which leads to difficulty sleeping and sleep disruption. So resetting your circadian rhythm can have a big impact on type 2 diabetes. How do you reset your circadian rhythm? Well, you get morning daylight is one of the first things that you can do. Expose your very eyeballs, right? Get the sunglasses off and expose your very eyeballs to the morning sun. Is a very valuable way to reset your circadian rhythm. In addition to that, blue blocking glasses is a great thing to implement as well, because our circadian rhythm is impacted by the blue light that we are constantly on through our phones and screens and whatnot. Listen, there are valuable approaches to type 2 diabetes. And even your experts now, I hate that word, experts, but even they are saying type 2 diabetes is reversible. And a lot of people, they don't know how, because they go to the doctor and the doctor just keeps pushing more drugs. And it's a cascading effect of polypharmacy. Once, you get some on one pharmaceutical, it usually leads to another. And so they're never offered anything like lifestyle changes. They don't understand what we teach here at Naturally Inspired. Of course, we don't give medical advice, but we just lead people to research. We lead people to the research. And what researchers have found is that a high protein, healthy fat diet, high fat diet is much more valuable as a modality to get your body back to homeostasis when it comes to dealing with metabolic disease. And I'm not the only one saying that now. We've even seen that reflected in our food pyramid. So if you're dealing with type 2 diabetes, I want to give you hope. I want to give you hope and offer you a path back to health. So don't shy away. Book today. naturallyinspiredstore.com. You can book from there. I also wanted to talk quickly before we go to break again, and then we'll get into our health topic, about Alzheimer's. There's so here they go again. Okay. So I think I've said this on the show. I know I've covered the Alzheimer's issue several times about the myth of amyloid plaque, and that most of our research is based on this theory of amyloid plaque when it comes to Alzheimer's. We've lost a lot of ground in research because of those fraudulent studies. We now know that Alzheimer's is linked to metabolic disease. And so this is going to shift. It's going to shift what they're proposing for drugs when it comes to Alzheimer's, because guess what? Alzheimer's drugs are not very promising. Not very promising. In fact, there's been a lot of research, and there's a new drug on waiting in the wings here. The latest evidence-based overview of Alzheimer's drugs, emerging treatments. The Novartis, did I say that right? Novartis, the drug company, Novartis. I think I always say that wrong. Anyway, they're coming up with something new, and it's a monoclonal antibody drug that targets beta amyloid plaque. There's a lot of research that says it ain't a plaque problem. Okay? So this is going to be interesting as this unfolds. There have been so many failed Alzheimer's drugs, including one by Vivek Ramaswamy. You want to know how he became a very wealthy man? His mother is a doctor, and he bought a failed drug off a pharmaceutical company, and he pumped life back into it, meaning he convinced people that it was viable and that all it needed was, a little bit more research, and then, it went public, people bought shares, and then it failed. And Vivek made a lot of money. And that's how rich people play the game, and they've done it over and over again with Alzheimer's drugs. And the truth is that there aren't any Alzheimer's drugs that really, truly work. Diet is very valuable with Alzheimer's, because what we're finding is that Alzheimer's, dementia, diseases like this are actually related to glucose, to metabolic dysfunction. And they're now even calling it, and this isn't my phrase, but researchers who understand metabolic health are calling it type 3 diabetes, right? Diabetes of the brain. So keep your eyes on, these gene therapy, new drugs. They're going to be coming out of the woodwork because of the mRNA technology with the COVID-19 shot. And that's why I've said over and over again that I don't think they'll ever truly denounce the mRNA technology. Now it's becoming more and more widely known that these things were very dangerous and that they caused injury and sometimes even death in people. But will they ever fully denounce them? I don't think so. There's just way too much future here in these types of technologies that were used during COVID. Quite purposefully, I think. Up next, your health topic, we're going to be talking about uric acid. What is it? How it happens? Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Did you know that nearly 70% of Americans struggle with their health every single day? That's why we are reaching out to health professionals and to anyone who simply has a heart for helping people. Right now, there's an opportunity to make a real difference in people's lives while building a flexible income stream for yourself. Whether you're already working in health, wellness, or just passionate about seeing people thrive, we want to connect with you and introduce you to our system. Together, we can provide real solutions that empower people to take control of their health and create lasting impact. If you've been looking for a way to combine purpose with income, this is it. Visit simplehealthincome.com or text 720-764-7448. That's simplehealthincome.com or text 720-764-7448. We look forward to working with you.
Looking for someone to take the guesswork out of what you need? Having joint pain? Do you need joint relief? I've got a protocol for that. All of our protocols are featured at naturallyinspiredstore.com. You can go there, click on the joint relief protocol. Once you become a customer of Naturally Inspired, don't forget you got all the coaching for free. So if you're struggling with joints, head on over there to naturallyinspiredstore.com, click on the joint relief protocol, and get into the Naturally Inspired community today, supporting your joint health. You can text me if you have any questions at all, 720-303-8868. Important to note that all of our protocols come with free shipping as well. So that's an added bonus. Get started today. Don't suffer in silence any longer. Go to naturallyinspiredstore.com. Okay, today we're going to be talking about uric acid. I want to give you kind of the 411 on uric acid and what you need to know about it. Many people don't realize that uric acid is actually a waste product created when your body breaks down purines. Purines are a natural compound found in DNA, food, and dying cells. So normally uric acid dissolves in the blood. It travels to the kidneys, is excreted through urine. The problem begins when production is too high or elimination is too low, and uric acid builds up and crystallizes. So what happens when uric acid is too high? This is common consequences are gout. Maybe you've heard of gout. That's painful joint inflammation. Kidney stones, especially uric acid stones, kidney stress or kidney damage, hypertension, insulin resistance, fatty liver, mitochondrial dysfunction, chronic low-grade inflammation. So high uric acid is often a metabolic warning sign, not just a joint issue. A major trigger is fructose. So I have this clip from one of my favorites, Dr. Berg, explaining uric acid. Take a listen.
Not caused by eating meat. Gout is not caused by eating seafood. I have a YouTube video on this channel about what actually causes gout. It's too much sugar, too much fructose, too much alcohol. That's what causes gout. Hyperinsulinemia, hyperglycemia. We've got so many people in our private group who used to have frequent flare-ups of severe gout, and now they either have one mild flare-up a year or no flare-ups whatsoever, and they're eating a ketogenic diet, which is a meat-heavy diet, or ketovore, which is very meat-heavy, or carnivore.
That's Dr. Barry. I always mix those two names up in my mind there. So Dr. Barry, it's important to note that Dr. Barry promotes a very high meat, high protein diet. Okay, so you will see conflicting research. Some researchers believe that gout is caused, high uric acid, and it leads to gout, is caused by eating a lot of red meat. And there's conflicting evidence on that. So you have to really be careful. Fructose is a major trigger, okay? Fructose is uniquely powerful at raising uric acid. Fructose spikes uric acid. Fructose metabolism metabolizes rapidly, and it depletes ATP. So ATP breakdown means increased purine degradation. This directly raises uric acid production. Uric acid then inhibits nitric oxide, right? Which that leads to what? Blood pressure issues. It reduces blood vessel flexibility. It promotes insulin resistance. Biggest fructose offenders: high fructose corn syrup, fruit juices, even natural juices, right? Think about, when you're thinking about juice, a lot of people think juice is healthy, but think about it, because how many how many oranges do you have to squeeze in order to get a full cup of juice? It's not really natural, right? In its natural form, you eat one orange, you're getting a little bit of juice. But to create a full glass of orange juice, you're eating 8 or 10 oranges sometimes. And you'd never eat that, in one sitting, 8 or 10 oranges. So we have to put this stuff into context. Agave syrup also is big in fructose. Of course, pop, soda, sweetened drinks, that includes energy drinks, large amounts of dried fruit. That's a big culprit too, because again, I think we associate dried fruit with something healthy. Whole fruit, like nature has a recipe, fruit doesn't come with just a shot of fructose necessarily, right? It comes with fiber. It comes with other things around it. So it doesn't, it's not so potent. When we're creating these, through processing, we're creating these higher content of sugar in a lot of fruits. So whole fruit is less problematic due to fiber, like an apple, right? An apple skin has fiber, but excess still matters if uric acid is already high. Alcohol, double trouble for uric acid. Alcohol raises uric acid in 2 ways. It increases its production. So alcohol metabolism generates lactic acid, and lactic acid competes with uric acid for kidney excretion. It decreases elimination. Kidneys prioritize alcohol metabolites, and uric acid stays in circulation. So the worst offenders, beer. Beer has purines plus alcohol. So it's terrible for gout and for uric acid. Spirits, so hard alcohol. Regular wine intake, but dose matters when it comes to wine. Functional root cause of high uric acid. So beyond food, functional medicine looks upstream when it comes to high uric acid. Insulin resistance, mitochondrial dysfunction, dehydration, right? Are you hydrating with electrolytes? Low kidney clearance, high oxidative stress, poor methylation, chronic inflammation, mineral imbalances like low magnesium, low potassium. And stones, kidney stones, high uric acid can directly form from uric acid stones, create acidic urine that promotes calcium oxalate stones. Gallstones also are linked to uric acid. Gallstones are primarily cholesterol-based, but indirect links exist, meaning insulin resistance, poor bile flow, liver congestion. Uric acid itself is not a direct gallstone cause, but it leads to it downstream. Indirectly, there is some correlation with the MTHFR gene mutation that contributes to kidney and gallstones. The MTHFR mutation can impair methylation, which affects, of course, detoxification, nitric oxide production, homeocysteine clearance, and oxidative stress balance. So that results in a higher risk of oxidative stress, makes your kidneys a little bit more vulnerable. Impaired detox, of course, leads to uric acid retention. Poor nitric oxide leads to reduced kidney blood flow. Elevated homeocysteine leads to vascular and kidney strain. So kidney stones become more likely. Gallstones possible via bile flow and liver congestion, but actually less direct than kidney stones. So here's your approach. Hydration is key, right? You've got to aim for clear to pale yellow urine. Use minerals, right? Mineralize. So get yourself a buy one, get one free at Naturally Inspired store. Liquid minerals, a great thing to supplement with. You've got to reduce your fructose load. So limit juice, if not eliminate juice. Moderate your fruit intake and make sure you're eating the fiber of fruit, right? Avoid agave. It's a contributing factor. Also, do an alcohol reset. Temporarily eliminate alcohol. If you're dealing with flares, especially during an active stone issue or a gout flare up. Support kidney clearance with magnesium, potassium-rich foods. Things like supplement with turmeric. It's a wonderful detox as well, supports detox and inflammation, kind of a two-pronged thing. Adequate sodium. So, the electrolytes are so important, and you need salt to hydrate the cells, to bring water into the cell. Improve your insulin sensitivity. So protein forward, protein-based meals, strength training, muscle. I cannot stress that enough, right? Muscle is very, very important. Adequate sleep, methylated B vitamins, right? To support that MTHFR if you have it. Reduced inflammation and oxidative stress with omega-3s. Some other key products that I love is the alfalfa complex in my product line is wonderful. The turmeric boost, hydration is key. Those 3 products. So if you're dealing with this, turmeric boost, alfalfa complex, and hydration. I love the Revitalize in particular because it has no sugar. It also has shilajit, which supports happy hormone levels, and so much more. So uric acid is not the problem. It's a signal, right? It's a communication. High uric acid often reflects excess fructose, alcohol burden, metabolic stress, poor detox and methylation, kidney overload. So you've got to address the root metabolic terrain, not just lowering numbers, right? You want to create lasting change through lifestyle. So much can be done through lifestyle. It's not, in the old days, I think this is what we were told about gout. Oh, you get that from eating red meat. Too much red meat. It's a little more in depth than that. It's a little more in depth than that. As our bodies are synergistic in nature, we have to understand that, everything we put into the body is communication. And what comes out of the body is also communication. It's also communication. And I always say that it's a matter of deciphering kind of the communication. But the foundation of, a healthy metabolism, healthy metabolic function is nutrition, right? Nutrition, reduce processed foods, reduce sugar. Fructose is key. So if you're a fan of fruit juice and you're dealing with things like gout, taper it back. Right? Taper it back because this is a big component. If you want more information on it, just text me 720-303-8868. 3 products to get started with to help you with uric acid, turmeric boost, alfalfa complex, and hydration. Very important. Use the tools that you have at your disposal. Visit naturallyinspiredstore.com. Thanks so much for joining me today. This has been Naturally Inspired Radio, and I'm Tammy Cuthbert Garcia. See you tomorrow.
Are you ready to stay informed and inspired 24/7? Tune in to Naturally Inspired Radio anytime, anywhere. Visit naturallyinspiredradio.com, or for the best mobile experience, download the Simple Radio app. Search for Naturally Inspired Radio. Save it to your favorites. And click on the graphic to listen instantly. Catch live broadcasts, revisit past shows, dive into long-form podcast conversations, and discover rare, censored presentations by leading health experts. Plus, explore documentaries uncovering the hidden truths of occult and esoteric history. Stay connected, stay inspired. Naturally Inspired Radio is always at your fingertips. Tune in now. For health questions or comments, text Tammy directly at 720-303-8868. 8868. NaturallyInspiredRadio.com.